Welcome, everybody, to a week two overview of Fantasy Football League. I'm your commissioner, Scott Mills. Thank you, everybody, for anybody who is paying attention to these. I don't know how many people are watching them. I enjoy doing it, so hopefully I can give a little bit of entertainment to your day, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. So let's take a look at the league that I'm in, that I do these recaps for. And we're going to go over the week two results. So, we had a couple of team name changes. I'll start with those. We had the Shaq's team updated his team's name to Shaq's Slimy Squad. So, definitely with the slime being a interesting choice there for that. We had Don Preston changing his team's name from McCaff Attack to No McCaff Attack because there is no Christian McCaffrey attacking any other teams because his own calf attacked him. And so that's unfortunate with the number one overall pick. So pretty much anybody who had that and ended up taking McCaffrey, I feel for you. Because in my other league, I had the number one overall pick and I picked McCaffrey. So I'm right there with you. Have that same problem in my other league. And then Dominic changing his names to Go Cardinals. He's got Kyler Murray and James Conner, who both are doing pretty good. So that's the reasoning behind that. And then I changed my team name to Riddles and Ridley because I honestly have no idea how I won without my first and second round picks going. But I did, so I'm happy about it. Calvin Ridley had a pretty good day, so, a little bit of a wordplay there with his name, Riddles. I got a bunch of Riddles, and then I got a guy named Calvin Ridley too. So there's that. All right, but let's take a look at these week one scores. My team, Riddles and Ridley, ended up beating the Wolf Warriors team 112.56 to 100. There was a chance, this is the only game on Monday night where there was a chance for a flip and who was going to win. I was up by like 21 points and I had Jahan Dotson going, who didn't do anything, but also Kyle Pitts didn't really do anything. And Jake Elliott wasn't able to do enough to overcome that deficit there. So I was able to take the W there. Nico Collins was looking very good on my team. And then Marvin Harrison, after a terrible week one, he really came on strong. So if there is a bright spot for Wolves Warriors, it was Marvin Harrison. Does look like the player you were hoping you were going to get when you took him as high as, what, the second or third round. It was when he was taken. So that one was good. And then J.K. Dobbins has been really good. He's finally, this might actually be the year where he can actually play healthy the entire year. At least that's what you're hoping for. And he finally gets a chance to show what he can do for a full year now that he's in Los Angeles playing for the Chargers instead of the Ravens. And yeah, he's been really good. So there's still a lot of good um, for this team. You're definitely hoping that Jamar Chase will finally get out of his preseason phase pretty soon, and that Amari Cooper will somehow prove that he's not actually regressing, because I don't know what's going on with him. He's been dropping passes and not really playing well so far. All right, let's take a look at our next matchup here. It was Team Chance Vaughn versus Shaq Slimy Squad. And let's see here. Chance taking this. This was an extremely slim margin. It all pretty much happened on Sunday, Thursday or Sunday, and this was decided by like just 1 point, basically, a little over 1 point. So very close matchup. Tua going down with the concussion really hurt Chance's team. But he was still able to get the win. Shaq's team had a pretty off day themselves. Um, but James Cook looking really good there for Buffalo. Their new team seems to be focused heavily on the rushing attack, and James Cook is a big part of that. So that is definitely a bright spot for Shaq's squad, if there is one. And yeah, I mean, for Chance, he won with the kicker being his highest scorer, 17 out of Dallas's kicker. Dallas looking terrible after week one. They looked like they're going to be a great team whooping on the Browns. And then all of a sudden they get whooped by the Saints, and the Saints are looking for real. But yeah, very good from Pittsburgh's defense, Dallas's kicker. The rest of them were just kind of performances, and you're hoping that some of these guys could turn it around. And then pretty much for Shaq's team, it's a similar deal. Chargers defense was pretty good, but they were playing arguably the worst team in football in the Panthers. So, yeah. Not much going on the benches. Geno Smith having a decent game. He might be able to fill in for Tua there and do pretty well with that. Hello for whoever's watching. I hope you're having a good day. All right, let's go on to our next matchup. We had Team Emmy versus Eggball Elite. Team Emmy blowing out Eggball Elite by a pretty fair margin there, 135 to 112. So we had Dak Prescott, even though Dallas got whooped, they still ended up winning by Dak Prescott. Well, no, Dallas did not end up winning, but Dak Prescott ended up having a average quarterback day. Where Josh Allen, they destroyed Miami, but he ended up not having a good fantasy performance because James Cook, the running back, took all the touchdowns basically, except for one. And then we look down here, Breece Hall, looking like he was a solid first round pick selection. You always are looking for that 20-point performance out of your first round picks. Saquon Barkley still had a nice game. He had an extremely good game in week one, still putting up pretty good production in week two. Isaiah Pacheco is unfortunately for Eggball Elite, he's going to have to find a replacement at running back for the next 4 weeks at least, because I believe Pacheco got placed on IR with a fractured like fibula or something. Something in his leg got broken near the ankle, and it's going to keep him out for a little while. And then we've got DK Metcalf, had a very good game for Seattle. Seattle is looking pretty good there. I know people who are using the backup running back for Seattle. Also, that guy got a touchdown, Zach Charbonnet. Zay Flowers showing that a receiver for Baltimore can be productive and good. Usually, Baltimore's the receivers are weird. But yeah, Zay Flowers looks like he could actually be pretty good. And then you got George Kittle had a really nice day. Probably the best tight end day. I don't think tight ends did a whole lot this week, except for George Kittle. So that was a huge boost for Emmy's team. Rashid Shaheed is looking like he could be a very good player, very nice player for New Orleans. This might be his breakout year. Yeah, New Orleans is looking very good after the first 2 weeks. We'll see if they can keep that up. And yeah, the defenses really came on strong too. Buffalo, very good. San Francisco, we know, is always going to be a pretty good defense. So no surprises there. And then off to the bench, the other New York Jets running back also having a very good performance. But of course, Breece Hall is the one you expected to do well. But yeah, they had two running backs that were getting almost 20 points. That's really interesting there. But Breece Hall should be the one that's generally going to get the touches. But nice to know that you've got the handcuff for if Breece Hall, if something were to happen to him, you've got the backup already sitting on your bench. And you know that he can do pretty good. All right, so that's it for that matchup. And now we've got the biggest blowout, the highest points scored for the week against the lowest points scored for the week. Return of the King versus Team Mills Cards. And almost 100-point margin of victory here. Return of the King, just an absolute, after losing week one, this is the best possible outcome for Return of the King. You got Hurts, had a really nice game for Philly, even though their team lost. He was able to get a couple touchdowns and run for a bunch of yards too. Mahomes is just average, so he's like the Chiefs. They always still find a way to win, but yeah, Mahomes just average 150 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. But with Pacheco being out, Mahomes might be forced to pass more. Hello, Mr. Gregofer. That says, can you let me know about this trade I received? Okay, you're going to receive Brock Bowers and Nico Collins, and you would be giving up Travis Kelce and Justin Jefferson. The only reason I'm thinking about it is because Kelce has been really bad recently. Yeah, Kelce's definitely been struggling. I don't know if it's just because Kansas City's been using him more in a blocking fashion um, or what it is with him. I'm sure that Kelce is still going to have his good days. Um, I think that's a reasonable trade if the person gives it to you because Nico Collins has shown that he might be a legit number one receiver. And Justin Jefferson, I know he kind of had a thigh issue at the end of the game in Minnesota, but it doesn't sound like it's going to affect him too much. But uh, yeah, if you're getting Brock Bowers and Nico Collins, I think that's a pretty good deal for you. I think that's a reasonable trade for sure. So that's just my thoughts on that. I hope that helps you. Again, I'm not like a super expert or anything myself, but yeah, I think that sounds like a pretty good deal if you can get the guy um, to do that. But yeah, you can see here the 172. Anybody who had Kamara just did really well. And Devontae Adams, like looking like Devontae Adams from like 3 years ago when he was with Green Bay. So nice to see there. You're a Raiders fan, or if you have Devontae Adams on your team. And then Malik Neighbors, Giants. Yeah, he was kind of an unknown. I think he's a rookie this year, so seeing a big performance out of him, he just got pretty much all the best performances that he could. And that was all with Evan Engram last minute wasn't going to play for Jacksonville, so he got a 0 out of the tight end spot. Didn't really matter though, because yeah, when you get like 15 to 40 points out of your other guys, yeah, this is basically like, I mean, Kamara is making up 20 points. You can put 20 points from him and over here, and uh, yeah, pretty good. So, and then Bijan too had a decent game, his first round pick. Yeah, that was just a really good team performance there. Not much you can do if you're Team Mills cards. Um, yeah, Tyreek Hill, obviously, it's tough with Tua being out now, and he just had a bad game there against Buffalo. He's still a really good receiver. He'll have his good games. You definitely are hoping that the Dolphins will trade for maybe as some kind of a veteran quarterback. Because you don't know how good that Skyler, I forget what his last name is, but the backup quarterback for Miami's been pretty inconsistent, so could be tough. Um, Pittman, not great. Kincaid, not great. Tank Dell, like it seems like of those Houston receivers, like Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins are getting the majority of the targets there. It looked like they were trying to involve Tank Dell in some sweep plays. He never broke anything big, and he I think dropped a pass too. So that was definitely tough for Tank Dell. I think that he's kind of the third receiver option on that team. They're just so stacked. I think Tank Dell's a good player. It's just they have so many weapons there that are um, performing well that he's just not getting the performance there. Same thing with Lockett now that Jackson Smith-Jigba is starting to really get better. And then, um, yeah, defenses were decent, kickers were decent there. So that's it for that one. And then we'll take a look at the. Oh, I've still got two more to go. Okay, so we got the Go Cardinals team versus no McCaffrey because Christian McCaffrey being injured. So Go Cardinals. Kyler Murray is looking like he's gonna be back to form, and Arizona might be a pretty surprise team this year if Kyler Murray can keep this stuff up. Marvin Harrison finally had a big breakout game. And then James Connors looked like a pretty good running back this year. You know, he's been kind of average-ish the last couple of years, but yeah, this was a great game for him. So big win here for no McCaffrey. They're struggling a little bit without Christian McCaffrey at the running back position. Jamal Williams, even with New Orleans winning big, he's just not the main guy there. Alvin Kamara basically got all of the touchdowns and all of the big yardage touches. So, and then James Ford for Cleveland. He's an okay running back. Like he'll have decent performances, but he's not like a all-star player. He's no Nick Chubb, unfortunately for the Browns. And then yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're hoping that he'll be okay. It sounded like he got banged up a little bit. Olavi's been just kind of average, no touchdown, but he had pretty good yardage. So you expect he could have bigger games still there for you for the no McCaff attack. Devontae Smith, it's good you have him because AJ Brown's going to be out the next couple games, so you can probably expect these performances a little bit more there. And then, yeah, tight end over here. Again, we had a tight end get 0 points, but the team still won with a pretty good score there, 140. Um, and then Chris Godwin was another good spot here for no McCaff. He just had a bunch of littler scores, really, too, and Miami's defense was terrible. So just some tough luck there, really. All right, last of the team performances, we had Team Ladina versus Lamb Chubb play along. Another blowout kind of here. So, yeah, it was definitely a blowout. Um, CJ Stroud with a decent game, Baker Mayfield, decent game. But yeah, Devon Achane over here for being his team. David Montgomery had a nice game for Detroit. Justin Jefferson had Justin Jefferson game. So Sam Darnold doesn't matter. Justin Jefferson is still putting up 100 yards and one touchdown receiving games. So that's a really good sign that you like seeing with your team here. Brandon Ayuk has not been great so far. Of course, he didn't play much in the preseason. And now with Debo being sidelined, you're really hoping that Ayuk can earn those big bucks that he signed there for San Francisco now. And then over here on the other side, you have Deebo Samuel, who's now going to be out for the next several weeks, probably. So yeah, the Lamb Chop play along is that you're gonna have to figure out there. At receiver, you still got CeeDee Lamb, who's pretty good. Um, and again, Kelsey is not good. Kelsey, that's definitely worrying there. Trey McBride looks like he'll be a pretty good tight end. Everybody for Arizona pretty much had a really good game there because they put up 40 points, which isn't going to happen all the time. But again, this is one of the best tight end performances you had, so you got to be very happy about that. Um, and yeah, Rashee Rice looks like the main receiver for Kansas City. And Xavier Worthy's more of a boom bust kind of guy with his speed. He got a touchdown in week 1, which made his numbers look pretty good. I think he had 2 touchdowns, a rushing and a receiving one in week 1, which made his numbers look really good. I mean, he had similar touches in week 2, but not the same yardage, no touchdowns, so that's a big difference there. And then you had pretty decent kicker and defense performances down here. So, and then obviously for the Lamb Chop play along, he's got Nick Chubb on IR. You're hoping the second half of the fantasy season that he'll be able to come back and do pretty well there. So, let's take a look at our standings right now. Team Emmy in first place with the not the highest points scored, but 2-0. There's 3 2-0 teams. We have one of the low, I think, yeah, Chance has, yeah, the 4th lowest points scored per game, but the lowest points against, so he's won his first 2 games. They've been very close, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than good in fantasy football. You can kind of say the same thing about me too. I haven't had the most points against. I haven't had a ton of points scored for me. I'm like middle of the pack there, but I've had good matchups my first 2 weeks. So we'll see how that works out. Team Emmy's been really good. Had really good weeks, first 2 weeks. And then we got a bunch of 1-1 teams here. The high scoring team right now, Return of the King. And well, that point 4, because he had such a big week 2 score, the week 1 score was like 100 points, and then the week 2 was 170, so that one's way up there right now, just because of that huge week 2 performance. But for the most part, people are sitting like the decent scoring teams are sitting in, the 230s. I'll say 220s since I'm in the 220s. So 220s all the way up to 270. So that's about it. So we'll see what happens on the waiver wire this week in terms of players that are available. So let's see what's going on here. Yeah, let's take a look at some trending players that are available. So Carson Steele with Pacheco out, he could be getting more carries. He will be getting more carries. We'll see if he can do any good with that. Quentin Johnston had a really good game for the Chargers, but like I still don't know who the number 1 receiver is there. Like it's still too early to tell. With Keenan Allen gone and Mike Williams not there, they're still trying to figure out their receiver room. They've also got rookie receiver Ladd McConkey. We'll see if he steps up and starts doing good. And then Kareem Hunt got picked up by Kansas City too. We'll see how he looks. I know last year with Cleveland, he definitely looked like he had regressed and lost a step. I'm hoping that he, I like Kareem Hunt though when he was with Cleveland. Definitely was a great complimentary back to Nick Chubb there for a few years, and I think he can still do some of that as a receiving back. And then San Francisco, again, it's mostly guys that the receivers or the running backs got injured for these teams, and so now these guys are expected to get extra touches now for the next game. Another Kansas City running back. But what this tells me though, there's 3 Kansas City running backs on the nobody knows which one's gonna be good. Usually that just means, I mean, a lot of the time they just kind of split the touches between them all and none of them end up doing all that great. Now, in San Francisco, you've got a case where that Jordan Mason, he came in for McCaffrey and he's just been really good and he's been the main guy. But we can see there's like 3 guys that we don't know who it's going to be then. It's kind of tough to pick which one, and they might just all 3 end up not doing that good. So that's kind of my thoughts there on that. But yeah, that's about all I had for this week. So then I'll catch up next Tuesday. Thank you for everybody who was listening along. I hope it was helpful or that you enjoyed what I was saying. I know I can get a little bit boring droning on sometimes, but I enjoy getting on and talking about this stuff sometimes. So I'll keep doing it. So have a good day, everybody, and we'll catch you next.